Okay, we're here to talk about Alien Earth, Season 1, Episode 8, titled The Real Monsters, the season finale. This show created by Noah Hawley, the episode written by Noah Hawley and Magizi Punsono, and directed by Dana Gonzalez. Season 1 finale finds all the hybrids locked in a cell together, that Joe and Morrow locked together in another one. Boy Cavalier comes to the hybrid cell and tells him he built his own synth when he was a child so that it could kill his abusive father. Wendy, we learn, is able to take over the network and communication systems of Prodigy. She opens their cells while the hybrids kill Cavalier's security guard. She also unlocks the cells holding Joe and Morrow. Joe follows the hybrids while Morrow goes off to the lab to find all the samples he wants to bring back to Yutani. Morrow and Kirsch fight in the lab where Kirsch is badly injured but is eventually able to render Morrow unconscious. But Smee and Slightly show up and take both Kirsch and Morrow hostage, and Nibs ends up doing the same with Dame Sylvia. Adam finds Joe and tricks him into Cavalier's room where the alien has been released. It attacks Joe, but Wendy is able to save both of them, and he's also able to freeze and control Adam, who we learn is a synth. The eye alien escapes into the island where it finds Arthur's corpse, enters into his eye socket, and revives him. Using both the xenomorphs, Wendy, Joe, and the other Lost Boys capture Cavalier, Kirsch, Adam, Morrow, and Dame Sylvia just as Yutani soldiers are about to approach the island. With the hybrids now in charge and everyone else locked up, Wendy declares, "Now we rule." Um, my very first initial thought about this finale was when I saw that it was 45 minutes long, and I
Yeah.
thought, "Oh boy, we got a lot to do and not much time to do it in." And they crammed a lot in here. And boy, if they weren't planning on this being something leading into a second season, I will be quite surprised by that. But we had a lot to cover here. I'm very curious to hear what your initial thoughts were about this episode.
Yeah, as you say, they crammed a lot in here, but they also left a lot open.
Hmm.
And seeing the just kind of normal episode length as you were pressing play, I agree, indicated the likelihood of that, which something we're talking about a bit last week. I was seeing some remarks from Noah Hawley, maybe on Deadline. I'd have to double check where it was. Probably shouldn't have said a source without being sure. Um, But it's also remarks from Noah Hawley where he said, "Yeah, I wasn't gonna hedge bets or anything like this,
Right.
um, and do what I want to do, and I hope I get to make more." And but that does not seem to be guaranteed. I feel relatively confident that FX is going to renew this show, though, don't you?
Yeah, and I have been paying, may mentioned this last week, paying special attention to when I listen to the official podcast, the companion podcast of the show, what they say or who says what about a second season. Noah Hawley was on after the finale and said that he put in the work, trusting that FX and Disney would think highly enough of it that they would give him a second season. But every other person in the past 2 or 3 weeks has referenced a season two. So I think it's all but a given now that, especially since this did good numbers, that this we're going to at least get a second season.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think so. But so when it's Noah Hawley, if he doesn't know for sure yet, it makes sense that he wouldn't,
Right.
act like he's going to get it for sure. But from the outside, given how good the show is, given how well it seems to have done, given the ongoing relationship between Noah Hawley and FX with Fargo and all of that, yeah, I'd be very surprised. Be very surprised. Anyway, we'll dig into what happens a bit here. Um, where should we start? Got
Well,
some
there are any number of
questions.
places we can we can start here. I, what about with the title of the episode, The Real Monsters? And we sort of speculated about this at the
Yeah,
end of
okay.
last week, sort of what this referenced and what this meant, right? And I wondered, oh, does this just mean, oh, once again, we're talking about how the humans are the real monsters here, not actually the aliens. I heard a another podcast referencing I think it's Ripley's line from the second Alien movie where she says, "I don't know what species is worse, the aliens or the ones that are, killing each other over a fraction of a profit over something, right?" So it's just sort of this, which is worse. And it actually turns out that maybe what the monsters are they're referencing are these Frankenstein hybrids that they created. They end up being the ones that take over everything.
Yeah, maybe. you know. It's interesting there because at the same time, I think the show very much puts us on their side, or at
Hmm.
least it did for me. I don't want to speak for everyone. Do you agree? Like I was watching this entire episode, like rooting for Wendy and the Lost Boys.
Absolutely. I cannot think of a synth or a a human or any other alien or creature or being that I was sympathetic to or rooting for in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, like Joe's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
I don't want anything bad to happen to him. But I did think it was funny how it seemed like Wendy and the others, or let's I should focus it on Wendy in particular. Perfectly fine with killing all the other soldiers.
Yep.
Joe's friends,
Right, right.
at least some of them. You know, they have a conversation earlier in the episode about this when she's referencing the end of last week's episode of when he shot Nibs. Um, and he says he had to, or what have you. And he references his relationships with these other human beings,
Hmm.
she's still kind of feeling like he chose them over her. So I think this is one of the more interesting questions to me coming out of the season finale is where Joe stands,
Yeah.
because at the end, when, all of the Lost Boys and Wendy are standing there and they've got everyone in captivity, I mean, Joe's out there with Wendy and the others. Um, I don't know that we get much more than a look on his face. But I don't think he's super comfortable with what's going on here. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think he ends this season and starts potentially a second season with a very shaky alliance with the hybrids at this point in time. Can also very easily see that he is a part of the movement or the effort to we got to get these hybrids out of control, out of power when season two comes around. I think that he has found the alliance where he can be safe for the moment, but I get the impression from some of his looks that he is quite scared of what these hybrids can and will do.
Yeah. So if your question was, are the hybrids the real monsters? I think maybe the perspective to take there might be Joe's.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like the title of the episode should be a question instead of a
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah.
Who are the real monsters? But I don't know how much weight we should put on the title anyway. I was thinking about this. It kind of varies a bit show by show. With this one, I think the titles have been fine.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
haven't generally been super interesting.
No.
But I'm also I'm currently writing on Invasion week to week, which of course is also a show about aliens. And I just found myself thinking about this uh, in contrast or whatever. Like a lot of the titles for that show this season don't even make sense.
Okay.
So it's like you just totally ignore it. Like last week's episode was titled "The Point of No Return," which is a
Okay.
perfectly common phrase, right? We all
Yeah.
know what it means. I could not tell you what it references in
What
that
the point of
episode.
no return was. Yeah.
It was just like what. So anyway, sorry, that's an aside. People maybe don't watch Invasion, but yeah, I mean, I do think that it's raising the question because look, particularly by the time we get to the end, even someone like Slightly, even Smee, I think it's Slightly who says the line, but they can't hurt us, right?
Right.
The
Yeah.
the alien species that have escaped, they can't hurt us.
Yeah.
They can hurt human beings, but they can't hurt us. So who
He,
cares?
he, yeah, he now understands that. I think all of them, to some sense, have that understanding of um, that they were slightly was given this task because he can be in the proximity of the face hugger. It doesn't have to worry about it attacking him. Just needs to get it near a human. We know now that there is this relationship between Wendy and the xenomorphs. We know that the only points of reference we have are aliens attacking humans, not synths, not hybrids, not even cyborgs. And so they are getting the sense that yeah, they are safe from these things.
Well, except the flies.
Oh, except for the flies. That's right. That's right. We get that. For
Got to be
Isaac
careful
or
about the flies.
R.I.P. Isaac. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think I did misinterpret things on a previous podcast because it's in this episode that we see what's been referred to as the flora fauna alien killing a soldier, right?
It does. Yes, yes.
I think that might also resolve a mathematical question about how many alien species from early on,
Yeah.
if people are really worried about such things. Um, but yeah, they do have to be careful about those flies. Where things go from here, um, I don't know. I mean, did it at all? Okay, so I mentioned how Wendy seemed perfectly okay with killing the soldiers, even
Yes.
to the point of, I think, like sicking the xenomorph on the soldiers to kill them.
Yes, which we need to return to that at some point, this connection that she has to revisit that conversation. But yes.
Yeah, I do want to revisit that conversation. But first to say, with everyone else, they rounded them up and put them in a holding cell, the one they used to be in. Did
Hmm.
that surprise you at all? Like, part of me just expected them to just go ahead and kill Dame Sylvia and Boy Cavalier.
Yeah, that's one thing. I have a lot of questions coming out of this finale, but that's maybe one of the bigger ones is what to what end did you put these people in there and not just kill them? What is the point of, especially Mora? What is the point of keeping Mora around? What is the point of keeping Kirsch and his intelligence and strategic ability around? I guess maybe you might make a case for Boy Cavalier because he's in charge of certain things, runs certain things, has certain access, but I just don't know what other reason you would have for. I don't think that they have enough of a relationship, sort of this mother-child relationship with Dame Sylvia to keep her alive at this point. So I really can't answer that question.
I mean, I guess it could make sense along the lines of something you just gestured at. These are all people who might know something we might need to know later.
Yep, yep, yep.
We don't know, and we don't know that it might be a question, but they're all in that kind of position in one way or another. Dame Sylvia being the lead scientist, doctor person, right?
Correct.
Um, Adam, you're not worried about because Wendy can just freeze him with her
Yeah.
magic. I want to
Same
talk
with
about that
Kirsch.
more too. Kirsch is incapacitated.
Yeah.
Is something a question with Morrow? So I don't know. Are they falling into any kind of hubris here about their ability to keep these people captive?
Yeah. And I hate going down the path of, well, they got to keep Morrow around because he's the, I mean, but basically the scene stealer of this show, and they need him in season two. But logically, there doesn't seem to be a reason to keep him around, unless they need him for something in terms of the interaction or the confrontation they are surely about to have with Utani, and I'm sure that'll
Yeah.
come into play next if there's a second season.
I'm a little disappointed in myself for never taking the time during this season to go read Peter Pan, which I know we talked about at one point, or I mentioned at one point I might do. Um, and also for the fact that somehow I didn't realize until this morning that Morrow is Captain Hook.
Hmm.
If you were gonna like draw lines and connections, Morrow would be
Yeah.
like Captain Hook.
Oh, the cyborg arm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Controlling the loss. Yeah. Okay. I can see that. Absolutely. Yeah. I hadn't made that connection either.
So I wonder if there are other ones that I haven't thought about or what have you, if there have been any clues there, maybe in terms of
Yeah.
where this is going. Although we should bear in mind that, as with the relationship to the films in many ways, often things are inverted. And Wendy
Yes.
makes that kind of explicit with regard to Boy Cavalier, how you're not Peter Pan, you're like the inverse Peter Pan.
Yes.
You know, you've always been this dickhead man. You were never an innocent child or
That's
something
right.
like that. Yeah.
Six years old was when he created that synth that killed his father. Yeah. Yeah. Not the childhood we want to speak of.
Now, I inferred there that the synth he created when he was 6 years old was Adam. What do you think?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Okay. Boy, it's pretty advanced synth, I guess, that I don't know.
I mean, at that level, it's questionable in a lot of ways. Like, where's he getting the materials, even?
Yeah. It didn't make it seem like his mother or father were, these just with a lot of resources or wealth or anything like that. So yeah, how did he get all this? How did he build it? We don't really have anything about that, just that he was able to do it at such a young age.
That's kind of one of several things in this episode where I feel like we're being asked not to worry about it too much, which
Yeah.
I don't love. But I feel
Yeah.
like there are a few things where there has to be kind of some hand waving, like don't worry about it if it's plausible.
And did the revelation of Adam being a synth, I mean, it's kind of just like, okay, I didn't really think much about it. It didn't really surprise me much. Didn't, I think, add much to anything. Just, okay, I guess we should expect that at this point. It didn't really move me one way or the other.
No, that didn't bother me at all. That didn't
Yeah.
bother me. I mean, I do recall however many weeks ago, I think you posed the question. I said I thought he was a human being, but who cares? Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of um, and again, I don't want to sound too negative here because I really enjoyed the episode and I really enjoyed even things around
Hmm.
the stuff that I'm about to mention. But things like Wendy's ability to completely take control of the network and hack everything.
Okay. All right,
Mm,
good. Let's have this conversation because there is, I think, a couple of things that need to be digested. One of which is, did Boy and Adam and Kirsch know that they could do all of these things? I mean, certainly they imbued them with certain abilities like, you know, more superhuman nature. We saw the jumping off the cliff, we've seen the strength, all this stuff. Did they know that Wendy and or others can connect this way to their network? Can the others do that? We've only seen Wendy do it. And so if you did know it, why would you do that? And if you didn't know it, how did they develop these things? I think that's one of the big questions I had coming out of this.
yeah, I mean, to try to make it as plausible as possible, I guess to start with what appears to be a kind of superhuman strength and all of that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't have big complaints about this. I got to thinking about, well, like how has Prodigy been making money? They weren't the ones who invented synths in the first place,
Right.
right? So maybe some of these upgrades and things like that have already been a part of their business plan. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Um, there aren't really strong indications that Kirsch, for example, similarly has superhuman strength.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I find myself thinking maybe because what evidence we have to go on him fighting Moro,
Yeah.
the enhanced cyborg guy. You know how
Right.
strong is Moro?
Exactly. Exactly.
So
And they were able to go sort of toe to toe. So I think they both have some sort of enhanced level of strength or ability there.
yeah, so it's just a question of okay, well, is it to the level that we're getting with the hybrids? Um, where I mean, Nibs just like crushed a guy's face last week with her bare hands.
Yeah.
So, but look, okay, maybe that's part of what they've been up to already.
Yeah, I could see it being it's a feature of the product. Look, we're about to put these things out on the shelf, and oh, you can not only can you be immortal, but you can have, these abilities as you remain immortal. Look what all you can do. You can have a better body than you had before, right?
Hmm.
But again, that sort of disconnect for me of how that evolved or moved into when he could just control everything in the entire facility. It just I just couldn't make that connection.
Yeah, Wendy's ability to control everything, control the network and everything, bothers me more. Although I almost don't want to use that strong of a word,
Hmm. Hmm.
but because the way it plays out, I think is great. But yeah, I mean, equally, okay, well, make it as plausible as possible in my own mind. I could well see some idea of something like the connection to a Wi-Fi network and somehow because it's a synthetic body, being able to control things through hand gestures, through
Yeah.
the Wi-Fi or what have you. And of course, this is a bit into the future, so okay, it's more advanced. We can go along those lines. But as you know, she's the only one of the hybrids who seems to do anything like this. They did prime us for it a bit earlier on, in an early episode, when she was, surveilling Joe. There was a little bit of stuff like this, but you have to make a further leap, I think, to her basically being able to hack the network
Yeah. Yeah.
also. Not
And
just have control, but actually be able to like hack it and take it over, which I
yeah,
don't know if that was grounded well enough.
and yeah, exactly. And everything in it, everything related to it, everything that's touching it, or connected to it. Yeah, just I mean, I don't want to go as far as to say as I thought it was convenient, but it's oh, okay, well, this is something that we now have to factor in. Whereas for the first 7 episodes, we didn't necessarily realize this was possible. I mean, this, you know, along the theme of these are children that are growing and understanding what they can do and how they can evolve and develop their skills and develop with the people that they are. I guess it makes sense. It was an interesting wrinkle to throw in the last episode.
Yeah, well, so as I said, I think they did plant some seeds about it.
Yeah,
Maybe not quite sufficiently, it's like might have helped a little to have some stuff in there where she's slowly learning more and more what she can do along these lines or something.
yes, yes, yeah,
I guess, but it feels like a minor quibble for the most part, particularly because I really enjoyed how this played out.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, using that in a way to where, I mean, the great line of the episode, or one of the great lines of the episode was, "We're the ghosts. Let's go do the haunting," and realizing that that can be a part of the haunting that they are now able to do.
Yeah, you take, I mean, the scene with Dame Sylvia where she's taking control of her devices and playing back footage of, I think that's her, right? That's Marcy.
I think so. Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Um, I was pretty sure about that to where I didn't make the effort to go and double check, but I'm pretty sure because we see Marcy
yeah,
at the beginning of, the series. Um, so yeah, I mean, I thought that was all really good. Haunting them, uh, being able, it just goes so far. Being able to stop Adam in his tracks, being able
hmm
to, unlock a door with a flip of the wrist at a distance.
Right, right.
You know, it puts me in mind of this line from, I want to say Isaac Asimov, but I might have the wrong sci-fi writer. This line that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yes, I have heard that before. Yeah, I don't know if that's Asimov or not, but I have heard that before.
I feel like it's Asimov or Heinlein. It's one of those guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is, in my mind, I've always taken that as like potentially a criticism. You know what I mean? I don't know
hmm
you, or at least I want a little bit more scientific explanation, plausibility,
Yes,
instead of it
yes.
just kind of seeming like magic. And some of this stuff just kind of felt a bit like magic, but I was willing to roll with it, I guess.
Yeah. So in terms of plausibility, can we talk for a second about the Wendy and Xenomorph connection? Because I want to
Absolutely.
revisit that. This is we talked about this last week. Sort of what is the connection? Does she just communicate with them? Does she control them? Are they allies? What is it that they have set up here? So actually, in Sepinwall's newsletter that came out this morning, I read through that. I was like, oh, I want to see what he has to say about this finale, and he had a lot of the same comments that we have. He was confused by the fact, I thought this was a good point. Um, these xenomorphs are solely focused killing machines, and that's all we've seen them do.
Yeah.
So if Wendy is able to communicate with it to the extent where it can go kill everyone around Boy, but not Boy, and bring Boy into a cell, then it has changed fundamentally what that xenomorph has been able to do. And so the connection there must be in some way, some kind of control or authority or something, if it's going to just go against its basic instincts to bring one person into this cell instead of kill them.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like last week I was trying to suggest that it was more of an allyship or something
Right,
than
right.
control. It definitely feels like control in
Yeah.
this episode. I mean, to the specific scene that you're talking about, it is the case that Wendy shows up to call the xenomorph off from killing Boy Cavalier.
hmm
So, but then, yeah, we've got to appeal to that, where
Yeah.
basically she is able to um, tell the xenomorph what to do
Right,
and it
right,
obeys.
right. Exactly.
So it is tame I mean, look, to the extent that it being like this can be, and I'm still tempted to say, yeah, like let's make comparisons to lions and tigers and bears. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Where
yes,
it's not perfect, but the other thing that's got me thinking about, so I don't love that really, but I'm willing to accept it, particularly because it did get me thinking about, well, this is set prior to the first Alien film.
yes.
And throughout the movies, it's like these stupid corporations are just continuing to try to get xenomorphs. And, they all die. And it is an interesting wrinkle if we accept this as quote unquote canon, which we've talked about how maybe we shouldn't worry about that too much.
Hmm.
But if you do kind of take it in continuity with the films and so on, maybe it's kind of interesting to think about this possibility. If they know that there has been a case
Yeah.
where someone was able to have the xenomorph under control,
Hmm.
it makes maybe their pursuit of it a little bit more plausible.
That is a great point. Yeah, if that information is going, and we'll have to see, what does Utani able to learn if there's a season two about that, and is it intensify their search in the movies for and a xenomorph? I think that's a great point of something that would make sense then of all they go through and all the people they send and all the resources they go through to try to get them.
Yeah, at least something worth thinking about. Now, of course, who's been able to do this? Wendy, a hybrid
Right.
who established a relationship basically from the birth of the xenomorph.
Hmm.
And these hybrids only seem to be in the show. So if
Right.
we're thinking about where all of this is going ultimately,
Yeah.
questions along those lines as well. But it would be something of a through line with the films to where the synths at least seem to have the most interest in the xenomorphs. So
Correct. Yeah.
mm,
It does make you wonder if the finish line of this show is, there are no more hybrids created and somehow they are destroyed because yes, that'd be weird that we would not have seen them at any other point in the future of this universe.
yeah, I mean, like you would almost expect so, right?
Yeah.
That because of everything that's happening, they ultimately say, well, that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Which apparently I mentioned last week, right? That I rewatched Alien Resurrection. I don't think at this point, there's a line in there at least that indicates that sometime prior to Alien Resurrection, which is the furthest in the future the series goes,
Hmm.
um, synths have been abolished, but not entirely because there's one in the film, right? That's how it comes
Yeah.
up. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought all synths were destroyed, but you are one. What's going
Yeah.
on? Um, I don't know. It definitely made sense to me why no one's ever made a sequel to Resurrection.
Yeah.
We've never gone further into the future. He's like,
Right.
let's go back into the past.
Exactly. It's more
Yeah.
interesting time in the best. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. We need to talk about the eyeball octopus.
Yeah, so this is, and I'd reference again the official podcast. I think this was Dana Gonzalez, the director, said they were talking about Arthur being revived in some sense, even if he's a zombie or whatever. And he said, if we get a second season, we have to have Arthur. He said, I would want to watch Arthur perform, even if he's just walking around for a full season, just saying brains all season. It's just like he's like, I just want to see that, even if that's all we get. So I mean, this was kind of a cool revelation that he's not just dead, left out for the animals to eat him on the beach.
Yeah, well, so I've got some questions, but this is along the lines of things I'm intrigued about, right? So at the end of the day, I really do find myself enjoying and appreciating how Noah Hawley's brought these other species into the story.
Yeah.
And the eyeball octopus, as I call it anyway, has been an intriguing one. For the past few episodes, it's been in the sheep. We keep having these close-ups of the sheep. Boy Cavaliers had these schemes about putting in a human being. We speculated that it would be Joe. We were right.
Right. Right.
Um, that doesn't work.
Hmm.
But then we also have the flashback episode, right, where we did see it in a human being,
Correct.
but he didn't talk. But now I'm wondering if, given the fact that it's had all this time sitting there with Boy Cavalier talking at it, whether it might have learned to talk.
Yeah. Boy Cavalier making reference to, I really just want to hear your voice. I really want to know if you can talk.
We've been told
Yeah,
it's
might
super
be quite the
smart,
foreshadowing for this. Yeah.
right? The other thing is in the In Space No One Can Hear You episode, he wasn't in the or it wasn't in that guy for very long, right?
No, it was not. We did see it, I guess, level up that engineer's strength so that it could battle a xenomorph. But
Yeah,
yeah, no sense of conversation, no sense of strategy or intelligence, or how it's been able to heighten the the ability of that other than just the strength.
yeah. And then the surprising thing, this is the only thing that was surprising, obviously, um, that it can reanimate a corpse.
Yeah,
Didn't know it was going to be able to do that.
that is an interesting wrinkle. Yes.
And obviously, you know, it's smart. And so, what kind of body do you want to inhabit? Well, clearly the human body is the best one available.
Right.
You got opposable thumbs, all that kind of stuff.
And one of the smartest people around already, apparently, if they're there working on this project.
Yeah, and that's an interesting question too. I don't know. I'm really curious where they go with that. It could totally go off the rails, but I trust the show not to, jump the shark with it, as it were.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, lots of dangling threads. That's one. Um, Xenomorphs are just hanging out with the Lost Boys.
Yeah,
Wendy seems to.
just walking all over the cell, just waiting for what to do next. Yeah.
The control seems to also extend to the baby Xenomorph, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Other aliens that are loose. The Flora alien is loose. The
Orphan alien loose, the fly is loose.
I think the fly is secure.
Oh, the fly is secure. I don't know if they all got opened up, just sort of when the lab failed, but the flora fauna exists, the two xenomorphs exist, the fly exists, the eye alien exists, so they're all still around.
And then there's four eggs,
And then there are at least still four eggs, yes.
and Utani is on the way. There's something else I was going to mention there in terms of, I don't know, dangling threads. Other things that come to mind for you? Well,
Yeah, I just think there's so many paths to take. I mean, there's obviously it sets up a battle between Utani and Moro and the hybrids. It sets up sort of this control of what happens to these aliens, who takes control of them. There is, I think, the thread of what happens if these hybrids escape this island, but I don't know if there is the capability or the desire anymore to produce more of them after this. Although it seems like from that very last scene that Boy Cavalier maybe is kind of thrilled by how things have gone and what's transpired here.
I was about to throw the head in. I was about to say that in relation to what you just said. Yeah. Um, Boy Cavalier seems almost happy
Exactly.
at how Wendy is taking control or what have you.
Yes, yes.
Again, he's so arrogant. He doesn't generally view anything as a threat to himself.
Right, right.
Where I mean, the closest he gets is in this episode with the xenomorph. But at any kind of distance from it,
Yeah.
um,
But even then, his hubris of, well, whoever can come save me, $1 million, right? That's just sort of his
yeah,
answer to everything is, I can control all of this.
right. Which I presume he'll get his eventually, right? That's not going to work out for him. But where does it go from here? I mean, that's how the episode ends, right? Where they ask,
Right,
"What do we do now?" And she says, "Now we rule."
right.
What does that mean? Um, and I don't think it's that definitive, right?
No.
They're in control. we rule what? Rule the
Yeah.
facility? That's
Well, ruling the way the
um,
Lost Boys ruled Neverland, but there still was an adversary there, Captain Hook, and and all the people who are against them. So, yeah, still sort of you can pull that thread to tell that story even more.
yeah. And again, Utani soldiers are on their way and all of that. We see that. So the simplest path would be that we get that kind of confrontation.
Yeah.
Um, but I presume it'll be a little bit more complicated than that. Definitely looking forward to it if we get a season two. Hope we get a season two. I hope it's not 2 years from now or more, but it
Yeah,
probably
no,
will be.
I know.
Um, I don't know. Other thoughts about this finale or season as a whole?
Yeah, I thought altogether I think the high points and the stuff I loved outweighed the things that I was confused about or didn't catch me as much. I think overall, Noah Hawley, I think really found an interesting story to tell here, and I'm glad it was him. I'm glad that there seems to be the potential for him to do more of it. This is a story that you're always like, well, you sort of frame these things in movies and they end cleanly, but yeah, this is one that's got a lot of things they can still do with it.
Yeah, really fascinating to see where it might go from here. And it's always interesting with a prequel series like this. Again, presuming any level of continuity with the first film, which I think is fair, you kind of still have to guess that well, when it all comes down to it, Wayland Yutani is going to be empty-handed,
Yeah,
right? Because otherwise you'd undermine the motivation for them in the first film. So um, they got a lot of chances
that's
with a
right.
couple of live xenomorphs and 4 eggs.
That's right. It does really set up for what it's going to be an interesting confrontation if the end result is the hybrids don't exist, the aliens don't exist. I mean, it's not just going to be as simple as Utani comes in and nukes the island, but yeah, I'm interested to see how those two forces play out against each other.
Yeah. Although I wonder, maybe that does have to be the end game. I
Yeah,
mean, I think things go so out of control on this little island that they're just like, we just got to get rid of it all.
yeah, exactly.
Um, all right, man. Been great talking about the show with you.
Yes, sir.
From here, to let people know, we're planning to pick up in the middle of Task
Mhm.
on HBO. So next week, we'll talk about, I guess it'd be the first 4 episodes,
That's right.
and
Or
then we're going to stick with that week to week until it ends. We've both been watching it. It's a good series. So, regular listener of the podcast, you haven't checked it out, recommend that you do. Come back and join us next week, and we'll be talking about Task, and we'll see you then.
all right. See you next time.